Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is Friday, the 14th of February, 2025. These are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with Pakistan's war against terrorism. We highlight this issue many a times during the year and even sometimes during the month because of the incidents that have been happening in this latest attack on 13, in which 13 Khawarij were sent to hell in 5 different incidents that recently happened. Also shows the fact that these elements are trying to destabilize Pakistan. To add to that is what happened in Harnai, in which the miners were also killed in an IED explosion, and this also adds to the fact that these 2 provinces, that is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, are the epicenter of such terrorist activities. Why, how, what needs to be done? We've talked about this, but of course there's always something new that crops up, and we need to reiterate the resolve of the nation, of our armed forces, to thwart all such designs of the enemy forces. To add to that also, there has been a meeting of the US President and Narendra Modi, in which also Pakistan was labelled, wrongly labelled, let's put it that way, and our Foreign Office spokesperson also reacted to that. We'll be highlighting that as well in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's 2-day official visit to Pakistan on the invitation of Shehbaz Sharif Saab. Very important meetings were held, around 24 MOUs and agreements were signed between both the countries, as well as the resolve by both the nations to take this friendship, this collaboration forward in many spheres. This will be our second segment. Then we are going to talk about Ukraine, that has rejected Trump's negotiations to end war without Kiev's participation. We all know what has happened recently. Trump has said that he wants to put this war to an end. He also has said that he has cast aspersions as per Kiev's demand to be part of NATO as well, the fact which in fact started this whole war between Russia and Ukraine. Kiev has also reacted. There are other countries that have also reacted. The EU has also reacted. We'll be highlighting that in our third story. Our fourth story concerns the James Webb Space Telescope that will be utilized by scientists to get a better understanding of the asteroid 2024 YR4, which has around 2% of a chance of impacting Earth in 2032. We've seen many films in that respect, but scientists say that there's a very small chance, but there is a chance nevertheless, and they will be studying it in more detail as to whether this impact could increase in the coming years before 2032. Finally, a humpback whale swallowed and then spit out a kayaker in an incident that was fortunately or unfortunately captured on camera. You can see the images in the parallel window, and of course we also have the testimony of the man who survived this attack after being eaten alive by the whale. This is the last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns Pakistan's war against terrorism that continues unabated. Our defense forces have this resolve to thwart all the enemy designs, whether it be in Pakistan or from other forces in the region, to destabilize Pakistan directly or indirectly. We know what the Khawarij are up to. We know that they are all coming from the Afghan territory. And we also know that the Afghan interim government is not reacting the way it should. We've been joined by Dr. Salma Malik in the studios, Foreign Affairs expert, to talk more about that, as well as Brigadier retired Farooq Hamid Khan, who's a defense analyst who also joins us online. Thank you very much, both of you, to have joined us. Dr. Salma, 13 terrorists are killed in 5 separate attacks in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa alone. And of course, these 13 Khawarij that have been killed are lauded. This whole effort is lauded by our Prime Minister, our President as well. But nevertheless, these are 5 incidents, and these Khawarij were trying to destabilize Pakistan in 5 different places in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, whether it be in Bagh, whether it be in Lucky Marwat, whether it be in Waziristan, North Waziristan, or whether it be in other areas in Dera Ismail Khan. What, in your point of view, is your take now in 2025? We've talked many times before of this uptick in terrorist activities by the fitna or by terrorist elements in Pakistan. Why does this uptick continue in 2025? What is the basic methodology? What do they want to achieve?
Well, basically, thank you, Omar, primarily to destabilize Pakistan, also taking advantage of the situation which is in the region and beyond the region. Afghanistan had been relegated to insignificance by the USA in the previous tenure, And now with Donald Trump coming back into power and the type of policies, America first, and kind of killing away all the legacies of the past, such elements have found a lot of credence that they know that there is an open space for them to operate. And they also understand, I mean, we underestimate them as ragtag band of people who are just gun-toting and trigger-happy, killing people, and who have no touch with reality, but in real, they are very much real actors. They are much in tune with what is happening in the world, in the global politics, in the global political arena, and they take full advantage of that. And they also understand that Pakistan, it is easy to create problem in Pakistan, given the fact that Afghanistan is now once again unfortunately becoming a festering space where all such non-state actors can very much thrive. And two things that you had mentioned about the Afghan government or the Afghan administration primarily not taking enough note of that, and that is also because they feel incapacitated, as many a times these agents, especially the Khawarijis, they are their A-team against other terrorist elements, so they cannot really put a lot of pressure on them because they don't want more trouble, and so they turn a blind eye when it comes to their actions beyond the borders. And then also the fact that another very important aspect, and that is India, looking at all these developments worldwide, is arming these people. It is, and they don't have any problem with armaments. There's so much of weapon glut left by the US. So they're arming those people, they're providing them finance, they're providing them training, and they're using them against Pakistan, because again they know that they can take advantage of this semi-fluid situation in the global politics and get away with it.
All right, that's an interesting aspect. You talk of India, so my question will be on India as well to Brigadier Farooq Hamid Khan Sahab. Sir, the Foreign Office terms Pakistan's specific reference in the Indo-US joint statement as one-sided, misleading and contrary to diplomatic norms. We know Narendra Modi is in the US, Narendra Modi met with Donald Trump, and of course there was a talk that was televised and shown to the media in which both reiterated whatever resolve they had as far as the bilateral cooperation is concerned, but Pakistan's name was wrongly used. Foreign Office spokesperson Shafqat Ali Khan Sahab said such references cannot cover up India's sponsorship of terrorism, subversion and extrajudicial assassinations in the region and beyond. He said such references cannot also shift the international attention from the stark reality of India being a safe haven for the perpetrators of hate crimes, as well as the international community's recognition of Pakistan's efforts and sacrifices in the fight against terrorism. But at the same time, he also reiterated the resolve that Pakistan will continue to contribute constructively to regional and global efforts to promote peace and stability, and that it is committed to fight terrorism and take it to its logical conclusion. When it comes to India, why is India trying to A, destabilize Pakistan directly through what is happening in Balochistan and KP, B, indirectly through the fitna, and C, then destabilize it on the international arena through such tactics as, highlighting that while talking to the President of the US?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Omar, for inviting me to your program. It is very clear that basically I consider two factors. The external factor is very important. Obviously, they very correctly highlighted that the basic problem is the Afghan Taliban government, which has not been able to control the terrorist activities against Pakistan from its soil, especially the Khawariji, whether it's KP or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or our province of Balochistan, which are now the frontline provinces against these terrorists. But of course, rightly pointed out, it's the Indian factor, which is very, very important. Indian intelligence agencies, they've gone back, they've reorganized and regrouped in Afghanistan. And obviously, they are funding, they're training, they're organizing these terrorist attacks and by the Khawariji in our two provinces. So this is you see, Pakistan has always maintained this position that and we have been giving dossiers all along at the international level to the United Nations at the OIC forum and all other international forums that India is the state which sponsors terrorism. And it has happened, the world is witnessing it, they're doing it indirectly via Afghanistan. And it's not only Indians. Let me tell you, there's a nexus, it's a very dangerous nexus that is building up against Pakistan. The hostile Western intelligence agencies, obviously the rogue agencies, the anti-Pakistan, and it is this nexus, those rogue agencies of the Taliban government, and of course the Indians. So this nexus is very active, and the Indians would always like to deflect their the international opinion from their atrocities, from their terrorism, which is state-sponsored terrorism that is taking place in Indian-occupied Kashmir. And although United Nations human rights agencies, the amnesties, they all are aware, and they've also been issuing statements condemning Indian atrocities and violence, extrajudicial killings in Indian-occupied Kashmir only 2-3 days ago. Again, and they're very used to false flag operation in Indian-occupied Kashmir, where they do the operation themselves. They kill their own people. The Indian army kills their own people, and they blame it on Pakistan, as if Pakistan is sending people from across the line of control, where this is not true. Pakistan is continuously holding on and respecting the ceasefire on the line of control, and been a very, very long time. It's been ages since, I believe, more than 2 decades. It has not been happening anymore, maybe in the past. Now, the point is this: the Indians, it is in their interest that they would like to keep Pakistan destabilized. They would like to keep the hegemony, maintain their hegemony, maintain their power in the region. The SARC have not been able to take off just because the stubbornness which has been demonstrated by the Indians. The Indians will not like Pakistan's military strength. And obviously, we look into their eyes. The Indians are aware that Pakistan, being a nuclear power, has a credible deterrence. So therefore, they will go for such alternate means to destabilize Pakistan. And of course, terrorism is the easiest that they're trying. But see the way that we are fighting back. The armed forces of Pakistan, the security, there are law enforcement agencies, whether it's KP, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or Balochistan. The point is this: the Americans are also to blame. Very correctly highlighted by our worthy guest that $7 to $8 billion worth of weapons left behind by the United States, which was exiting, and in fact, Pakistan gave them a face-saving exit. We facilitated their withdrawal from Afghanistan 3 years ago, and the arrival of the Afghan Taliban government after the Doha Agreement, again in which we played a very important role in getting that agreement through, so that we have peace.
That we know, Brigadier Sahab, that of course that is quite understood. But I was trying to get to the present and what needs to be done right now. I'll ask more or less the same question to you, Dr. Salma. And I'll add the incident that happened in Harnai. At least 10 people are killed, 6 others are injured. Explosion hits a pickup truck carrying coal mine workers in Harnai, and it happens today as well. This was an IED that detonated in the coal mines area, PMDC 94 in Harnai's Shahrag district as well. There have been condemnations all across, whether it be from our President, Prime Minister, or our Interior Minister, as well as the Chief Minister of Balochistan, who says, and I quote the Chief Minister, strict action will continue against elements damaging the peace of Balochistan. The action is being taken, but what more needs to be done in order to finally thwart such elements or such incidents from happening, whether it be in Balochistan or whether it be in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? Is diplomacy enough, like the statements by our Foreign Office correspondent, spokesperson, when India highlights Pakistan's, in a false perspective? Or what other angles should Pakistan look or work towards, in your point of view?
You see, when you're looking at the India factor, I think that's the easiest to answer in this regard. India would always play very safe. At the international level, India has an image or it's an image that the world wants to see about India because it needs India at the moment, especially the US to counter China. And in this meta narrative, everything is kosher when it comes to India, even if it is nuclear theft, it is any kind of unlawful activities that India is doing, even if there is credible evidence that India is supporting terrorism across border, it is committing atrocities against its own people within the territory of India, or its illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir territory, forceful annexation, etc. Everything has been koshered, because that is how the system works, that is how the US finds India's relevance, and they buy India's loyalty. And they very well know that any amount of goodwill that they try to do to India, it is not going to dance to their tunes. It will always have its own take on things. So this is the least they can do in order, and it's a very heavy price, because this way they are also negotiating away, and they are also kind of minimizing the international ethics and norms. The second factor which enables India's growth and India's impunity is also the non-resident Indians, or the Indian diaspora, which is now deeply entrenched into the US system and in the Western system. Name it and you have it. Even you've had a presidential candidate who was an Indian origin citizen, and so many other factors, and they're in all the key institutions, they're leading them, they're thought leaders, they're leading the social media groups. So it's entirely hijacked. So India has this image, and they are very well playing up to that image, and no one can really touch them on this regard. Pakistan is the easiest bait that India has, and they keep on creating problems in Balochistan for Pakistan. And it is not just a people who are not happy with the state of affairs who are creating problems, and the BLA doing whatever it is doing, and we keep on hearing that there are young people, educated people who are joining the cadres of the BLA, but there are these people who have been actively supported by India, who are being given money by India. There are a lot of missing people who end up suddenly surfacing somewhere in UK, in the Western capitals, in Afghanistan, in Iran, in India. They are cited, they are sending letters to their families, and that is how India is creating situation as bad as it could be for Pakistan. So Balochistan is a very, very severe problem for the state of Pakistan in this regard, that the terrorism in Balochistan is not only grievance based, it is not only an issue which is deeply seated in the overall governance apparatus, it is something that India is actively manipulating, and they keep doing that. And unfortunately, Balochistan, as beautiful a place it has a difficult geography, and these areas, Harnai, some other areas, the coastal highway, Gwadar, all of these areas are our soft spots. India knows how it can damage us, it can harm us.
And that is also it is doing it indirectly in Balochistan as well as in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa by, of course, backing the fitna.
Absolutely.
Last question to you, Brigadier Farooq Hamid Khan Saab. In your point of view, the Chief of the Army Staff recently vows that the armed forces are going to hunt down frenemies among the nation who are targeting the state. This was a statement by the ISPR. If you add that context to what all that is happening in these two provinces, in your point of view, I have asked Dr. Salma that, but in your point of view, what more needs to be done by our administration, by our defense forces, in order to end this spate of terrorism once and for all?
I think there are two reasons, two courses that we must adopt. First, of course, we are already doing it. The armed forces of Pakistan are taking on these terrorists, the Indian proxies from across Afghanistan. We've even gone and hit their bases a few weeks ago in Afghanistan. And obviously, we're hunting them down. There are intelligence-based operations which are taking place almost on a daily basis everywhere, hundreds of operations per month, whether it's KP or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Balochistan. So that has to continue, and that has to continue with full force. The other part is that we need to, our political parties in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, they too need to play their role. For example, in case of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, our Pashtun brothers, our Pashtun population there, the government there should also come out, I would say, 200% and support I'm sure they're doing it, there's no doubt about that, but then there has to be a lot of determination and commitment to be shown in the form of political stability over there in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and the same in Balochistan. The political parties over there need to engage the Baloch population, the fruits of CPEC, the fruits of the mineral development projects in Balochistan, Gwadar, the Gwadar port, the Gwadar International Airport have been recently inaugurated. All these projects, initiatives, the local people, they need to be involved more. They should benefit economically, and the quality of life should improve. So there's a political angle also. And especially, let me tell you that why the Indians are very bent upon obviously, they have US support to contain China in Pakistan and in the region, and therefore CPEC is a very big target. They have to keep CPEC, Balochistan destabilized.
The fact is that India's presence and India's nefarious designs are, there for all to see. And unfortunate or not, this is a country that does not want other countries in the region to prosper, or the region to prosper as a whole, because of its hegemonic designs. Thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Farooq Hamid Khan Saab, to have joined us for this important segment. We have to go to a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our second story concerns the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's two-day official visit to Pakistan. It was an important visit on the invitation of Shehbaz Sharif Saab, our Prime Minister, and of course many important details were thwarted during this visit, and many MOUs, 24 MOUs to be precise, were signed between both the countries, as well as the desire to take the bilateral trade to $5 billion US. That was around $1.4 billion as we speak. That and more is going to be discussed in this part of the show. We have been joined online by Dr. Nasir Iqbal, who is a leading economist. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And in the studios, we continue to be joined by Dr. Salma Malik, who is, of course, a foreign affairs expert, and we'll be asking her point of view as well. But we'll begin with Dr. Nasir. Dr. Nasir, this seventh session of the Pakistan-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council that was co-chaired by both Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, which of course, in which respective ministers of both sides presented progress reports on 9 joint standing committees covering various areas of cooperation between the two countries, as well as 2 new joint standing committees on health and IT also presented their reports. We all know that this is an important forum where we understand and highlight the strategic direction that both the countries could take or are taking for strengthening bilateral relations, and this happens after a period of around 4 years and a couple of months. How important, in your point of view, was the role of this council this time as well, and how can both the countries take their relationship forward through the ambit of this council?
I think this is a very important forum, especially when the two head of the state would chair any council. That would have a lot of significance and meaning in terms of translating the MOU, the agreement, and other things like that. The Pakistan and the Turkey enjoy a lot of a close relation, and this is a golden opportunity for us to actually materialize all those relations. And as you mentioned in your talk, that there is a lot of going on, and there are a number of MOUs signed between Turkey and Pakistan. So this is really a good opportunity for both countries, not only for Pakistan, but also for both countries. As you mentioned, that we are hoping a 5 billion bilateral trade. And you know that we already have some kind of free trade agreement with Turkey, and we need to expand those kind of agreement on various new products, such as we have to focus on this IT sector, we have to focus on this tourism sector, we have to focus on the soft infrastructure of the country. So there is a lot of positive on the one hand in this visit, but on the other hand, we have to take this event, this visit, as an opportunity. and we have to spend a lot of time on it to make sure that the all kind of agreement that we signed and the strategic partnership that we have with the Turkey, we must materialize this. And for this, we already suggested some areas where both countries have a shared progress and the both country can actually enjoy a higher level of even export. What we are assuming that the 5 billion is nothing. If the both country can constructively work on those areas, probably we can have a more than what we are assuming. For example, as I said, agriculture is one of the area where we can actually have a leverage to expand our export to Turkey and also seek updated technology from them to actually process these kind of stuff like that. Then the other important component, as we mentioned, that we have to work on the soft infrastructure, where I am talking about the skill transfer, the human capital transfer, and also the knowledge sharing. So these are the area where there is the future is live with the, as you know, with the soft skill like AI, like clouds, like data mining, and here we have to properly use and train our youth and to engage with Turkey for the decent employment of our youth. So these are all the green areas where we can make a lot of investment, and these can provide a lot of opportunities to us in terms of not only expanding our bilateral relation but also expanding trade relation as well as some sort of security relation.
All right, that's an interesting perspective, Dr. Salma. Uh, Rajab Tayyip Erdogan visit to Pakistan. Many MOUs are signed, meetings are held, the points of views are shared between two countries or different aspects, regional, international, global, and of course points of interest between both the countries. The Turkish president comes after visiting Indonesia and Malaysia, and this is the final leg of his tour. How important was this visit, and how important was this visit from a Turkish point of view in your perspective?
Thank you so much, Omar. Number one, the very fact that the Turkish Prime Minister was here and he came to Pakistan, a very, very important friend and an important extended neighbor with whom we don't have relations that span since the birth of Pakistan, but even before that. You see the Khilafat movement, the Caliphate movement, it brought together Muslims as well as non-Muslims in the British India, rallying around the protection of the Caliphate movement from following. So it's a very, very deep-rooted history that these countries share, and then the RCD was the second strong peak in the relationship. And then in the recent years, we also saw that there was this movement with Turkey, Malaysia, and Pakistan becoming those Muslim hub countries which would lead the global Muslim discourse and such. So these relationships have been very, very strong, and time and again we have given them different nomenclatures, looked at them from different angles, and each time we have had something more to look into, something more to explore. And with elections coming in Turkey, President Erdogan's visit to these key capitals, with nationals from these key capitals living in Turkey, working there, finding a lot of entrepreneurship there, holds a very, very strong significance for that country. Pakistan, our other speaker, he was talking about the knowledge economy. There is a huge collaboration between Turkey and Pakistan when it comes to educational collaboration. There are a lot of people who are going there and living there for better life styles and all
prospects,
that,
yes.
and prospects, and Turkey provides people with that comfort zone where you're living in a Muslim country and doing a lot of things, and vice versa. We see a lot of Turkish school systems, a lot of thought leaders residing in Pakistan and doing a lot. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and of course the more there is the foreign policy input into the overall comprehensive Turkey outlook, the better it would be for the president to capitalize on in the coming elections.
I agree with that. I agree with that. 24 MOUs, Nasir Iqbal Sahab, are signed. Cooperation in defense sector, power, energy, mining, trade, industrial sector, water, seed production, scientific education and training, banking, religious services, religious education, halal food, media public relations, legal sector, pharmaceutical sector, aerospace industry, cultural cooperation and co-productions, and 2 MOUs signed by the Pakistan-Turkey Business Forum as well to enhance business cooperation in this very sector. These MOUs are interesting. How can both the countries now move forward from the MOU phase to the actual actionable phase of all of these agreements that have been signed?
I think we have to give the background of all these areas that you just mentioned, that we just launched this Udan Pakistan 5 years plan. Probably the areas that you are mentioning, we also highlight these all areas to our minister and also this give these messages that already set its direction toward the growth trajectory. And the various areas that you mentioned, like the youth dividend we have, the energy sector where we need a lot of investment, the urbanization, and especially the concept of this smart city and infrastructure development, and the reformed agriculture sector, development of the IT sector. These are all the pillars. Those are the key for us to grow. And if we really want for like a 1 trillion economy, these are the areas we really have to make investment. And the Turkey have a lot of like advancement in all these areas. We can learn from how they develop smart cities, how they develop urban infrastructure, how they develop their IT sector. We can also learn from them about the culture and the tourism sector, because these are Turkey is one of the destinations that heavily rely on the tourism side. So probably we have to work more closely. We have to develop actionable agenda based on all these MOUs. Now it's up to our relevant ministries that they should aggressively work on all these MOUs. They start materializing, they can negotiate with the counterpart and try to make an actionable agenda with the clear timeline. So this would be the way forward if we really want to materialize. Otherwise, if we just left this MOU as a MOU, then probably it will not work anyway. So keeping in view the free trade agreement that we have to renegotiate with them. We have to add other sector in that free trade agreement. So that will give us some sort of leverage to us in terms of expanding our export, because our future lie on export. If we have to grow, we have to increase our export. There is no other solution to us. For export, the areas are open, as you mentioned, mining, IT sector, financial sector, agriculture sector, so many other sectors. So we have to be more active in terms of getting the benefit from the rest of the world. It's not about Turkey, it's all other neighboring countries that we have. We should start negotiating them. We should start pushing our actionable agenda with them, and then you can see how we can like exponentially grow within very few years. So you can find us in somewhere.
Inshallah. Nasir Sahab, I think this is what we are going to see, and this is what our government is aiming towards as well through programs such as Udan, and incorporating all of these elements of these MOUs and these mutual agreements signed with Turkey to take them under the wraps of Udan, and then of course working on them in such a manner that our economy, as you said, becomes a 1 trillion economy. Thank you very much, Dr. Nasir Iqbal Sahab, to have joined us, to have discussed this visit of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president, and his entourage to Pakistan. Finally, I'll merge two questions into one, Dr. Salman. Dr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan appreciated Pakistan's great sacrifices in the war against terror. We've just talked about it in the previous segment. He also re-emphasized Turkey's unconditional support to Pakistan in its fight against all forms of terrorism. Secondly, the common stance that they have as far as Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as well as the Middle East, with specific reference to Palestine, what is happening in Gaza, is also quite apparent. Both the sides had exactly the same point of view and resolve, whether it be while meeting with the president or with the Prime Minister. How do you view this reiteration, this commonality of views and interests when it comes to regional issues, global issues rather, as well as terrorism that has also a regional issues? How can both the countries further collaborate on counter-terrorism?
You know, if you look at Pakistan and Turkey's position in the global order, both the countries are geographically located in areas which are both pivots and zippers of the world, Pakistan as well as Turkey. Especially for Turkey, it is like neighboring Syria, other areas, then Europe towards the north, and some other areas, and so is Pakistan in that regard. And both of them actually, when you look at it, share a lot of common threats as well. Threats emanating from across the border, people who are crossing over the border, coming to safe areas both in these countries, and there are so many things. And then also there is this convergence of their perspective, their moral values when it comes both to Palestine as well as Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And this is something that Turkey has time and again iterated and reiterated, both in terms of Kashmir as well as Palestine, that they stand for ethics, they stand for morals, they stand for the rightness, for the rights of the Palestinian people as well as for Kashmiri people. And if you may recall, when the First Lady and the President came to this area previously, they went and they spoke to people coming from Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and they showed a lot of empathy towards that, and that was absolutely genuine sentiment. So that really speaks volumes for how much pain both these capitals and the leaders have for the beleaguered people of Palestine as well as Jammu and Kashmir, and it will remain that way. And I think if we have more of the leadership converging on similar issues, then the problem of Palestine will inshallah finish very soon in favor of the Palestinians.
One phrase answer to working in counter-terrorism, both the countries. Do you feel they can find avenues to work on that with the fitna that is creating an issue for Pakistan?
It will be a massive support for both the countries, one another lending support to each other, and I think absolutely yes, and it is very critical that they join hands and they fight this fitna together. And that's going to be a massive victory.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Salma Malik, to have joined us and to have discussed also not only terrorism but also the relationship between Pakistan and Turkey. Let's come to our last three stories very, very quickly. The first concerns Ukraine, that has rejected Donald Trump's negotiations to end war without participation by Kiev. On Thursday, the US President Donald Trump says that Ukraine will be involved in peace talks with Russia, although Kiev says it will be premature to speak with Moscow at a security conference on Friday. Trump was talking to reporters at the White House, says Ukraine would have a seat at the table during any peace negotiations with Russia over ending the war. They're a part of it. We would have Ukraine, we would have Russia, and we'll have other people involved. A lot of people, quote unquote. This is what he said. Asked whether he trusts Putin, he said, I believe he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. But a lot of people do not trust Russia when it comes to this, whether it be the European Union or whether it be Ukraine. Trump's unilateral overture to Putin on Wednesday, accompanied by, of course, the concessions on Ukraine's principal demands, raised alarms for both Kiev and the European allies in NATO, who say they fear the White House might make a deal without them. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov says Moscow is impressed by Trump's willingness to seek a settlement. But of course, let's see what is going to happen as far as the positioning of both the US and its allies and NATO and Kiev comes when it comes to this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Next, the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be utilized by scientists to get a better understanding for the asteroid 2024 YR4. There is a small chance that it might hit Earth. Don't panic right now, because it might be something that we'll forget in the years to come, because the chance would have diminished. But at this moment, as we speak, there's a 2% risk of making contact with Earth when it eventually reaches this part of the solar system on the 22nd of December in 2032. Although asteroid might most likely pass by without any issue, people are monitoring at NASA what could be the consequences, because we have to look at all the kinds of eventualities. Astronomers estimate the asteroid is between 40 meters and 90 meters wide, which is roughly 130 to 295 meters wide, which is of course like an American football field. They say that if it does strike Earth, there is going to be a localized impact, but it could have an impact on areas such as South America, such as South Asia as well. Finally, a humpback whale has swallowed and spat out a kayaker in an incident that was captured on camera. You are just seeing the images on your parallel window right now. Briefly swallowed a 24-year-old kayaker last Saturday during a father-son excursion in the icy waters around Chile's Patagonia region. And this moment, as you were watching, was captured on camera by the father of the victim, who could have been victim, but fortunately for him, he survived. He has given his statement on what it felt like to be, engulfed by a whale for a very, very short time. But when asked whether they would go kayaking again, both the father and son said, yes, that should be the spirit. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah on Monday the 17th with more story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Have a wonderful weekend. Allah Hafiz.